It is now time to experience the buzz, a podcast that takes an inside look at amazing people doing amazing things. Get ready for some great conversation that will be fascinating, educational, and inspiring. We will also leave room to help small businesses in a big way. Now, here's your host, entrepreneur Steve Buzzard.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Experience the Buzz. I know it's been a couple weeks, but we are back and we are plowing ahead toward episode number 100. Where are we today? Well, number 94, and I am bringing you Mendonsa Camilleri of Stand for the And Education Company. She formerly was her own business owner of Shop Compliment, basically coaching and building out these incredible programs for people like doctors and authors and everything. And so I'm very excited for you to hear her story. We got an incredible connection that you'll hear about in the episode. But right now it's time for What's the Buzz? Check this out. I even wrote this up for you. Heavy Metal Thunder. It is going to be a new segment. We will still have the Banter Bros. I know Michael Kenobi, my producer, is very happy about that. But Heavy Metal Thunder is going to be a new segment. This is something I've been thinking about, and here's what I wrote. Stay with me. I have loved music my entire life. Never played an instrument except for my attempt at the organ in 4th grade. Bad idea. Air drums, air guitar, lip sync lead singer. Well, much different story. Not too bad. My first metal album, Number the Beast by Iron Maiden. On a dare in 8th grade. That unlocked it all. My progression is as such. Favorite band, Van Halen. Then you have the likes of AC/DC, love Def Leppard, Poison, Rat, Dokken, Judas Priest, and other hair bands during the time of the 80s and 90s. Had the posters all over my wall. I was obsessed with trips to Tower Records and purchases of, do you remember? Circus Magazine. That's right. Those were the days. Hit college, and then things progressed thanks to my college roommate, Sean Sobers. Why? Well, he had the hair, and I say, bring on Metallica. And from there, it was about upping the ante. Megadeth, Anthrax, and other bands that gave me the need for speed. From there, well, things got heavier with bands like Pantera and Sepultura. Then in 2006, I saw a band from Georgia for the first time at Slim's in San Francisco with my brother-in-law, Jim. Mastodon. That's right. And they have been my band with one of the greatest rock anthems ever called Blood and Thunder. With an opening lyric of, I think that someone is going to kill me, you would think I have gone off the deep end with my musical taste in metal. Well, the irony is that the song is about the great novel Moby Dick and the pursuit of the white whale. Who would have thought? Adding to my menu, bring on the French metal band Gougé. And the pandemic did wonders for me as I did a deep dive, and now I can't get enough of Sacramento's own, the Deftones. That's right. This journey has been a fun one, and now I want to A, share it with you, and B, find out if there are others like you who have that love for metal like I do. The days of MTV's Headbangers Ball with Ricky Rackman, unpeeling the plastic off my latest heavy metal purchase, taking out an album and hoping that there were lyrics so I could sing along, staring at the posters of heavy metal greats thinking what it would be like to be in a band. Well, all fantasy, of course, but here we are. Welcome to what we call Heavy Metal Thunder. It will debut in our next episode, and in our opener, I will share the album that started it all, Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. Now, because of copyright, we probably won't be able to play tracks, but I will be able to give you a full rundown. And if you are a metalhead like me, I hope it will inspire you to jump onto Spotify or Apple Music and do what is a lost art. Let's face it. Listen to the album from start to finish. Those days are gone. But through Heavy Metal Thunder, I hope to bring back some good memories for all of us. Heavy Metal Thunder. Tune in next week, and that's What's the Buzz. Let's go ahead and get to our conversation right now. You're going to love it. It's Mendonsa Camilleri, and I hope you enjoy the talking story. Welcome into Experience the Buzz, everyone, as we are getting closer to episode number 100. We're in the 90s now, and I am so excited to bring on board Mendonsa Camilleri. Mendonsa, how are you?
Hi, Steve. I am great. How are you?
Doing terrific. So we were just saying as we were coming on, when's the last time we've seen each other? And actually it goes back, well, to your wedding and then your brother's wedding. So I was the DJ for your wedding. Let's just start there. What a day that was back in 2015.
Heck yeah, it was. We were recommended to you from other family members who you also did their wedding. So it was kind of like a fun reunion when you guys showed up on November 1st, that fateful day.
Yeah.
In 2015. And so people still talk about how fun it was on the dance floor at our wedding. And that is all thanks to you. We had the best time.
That's great. And that recommendation was the Abercrombie family, because I remember it all started with them. And then it was just kind of this waterfall effect of great couples like yourself and Nick and everything. And then in September 1st, 2017, your brother got married, Mike and his wife, now Kim, and you said there was a little something going on there when you were at the wedding.
Yes. So we had a 5-month-old that was at the hotel with my wonderful mother-in-law, and she was babysitting him. And I had one glass of champagne, and I could not figure out why I wanted to barf the whole night, but it turns out I was pregnant with our second. Total surprise. So,
oh my gosh.
Great night.
Now, I don't know if you remember about that day. It was 110 degrees. I think it's one of the hottest weddings I had ever attended. But if you remember, we did a plan B and moved the ceremony inside. And it was definitely a lot better.
I definitely remember it was so hot, and people still talk about that to this day as well. Our family talks about how fun they were and how hot Michael's was.
So now you know our connection, and the reason Melissa's here because she is truly an entrepreneur. Like, she is a small business owner and has had a business called Shop Compliment for many years. But we haven't actually had the opportunity to talk. So I'd follow you all during that time after you got married, followed your business, and then you went through some big changes. So maybe just explain for the listeners, what the business is now, what it's called, and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I'll just start really fast with the Shop Compliment stuff, because that was the first foray into entrepreneurship. I was a high school English teacher for many years and had no idea how to run a business, but I started selling jewelry and small gifts online, and that actually grew pretty substantially over 10 years. So I started that in 2011, and right before the pandemic, I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and was still running like the show at Compliment. I had a studio in Midtown where all of our production and manufacturing was happening, and all of our shipping to places all over the world. And I was just like, okay, something's got to give, because motherhood was my first priority, and the way that I had built that business didn't allow for me to step away as much as I wanted to in this new season. And so I was thinking about it and like, how do I push pause? What do I do? And still kind of just clipping away and kind of being frazzled. And then March of 2020 happened. And I think for so many of us, it made us kind of reevaluate, like, okay, where are we spending our time? Is this serving us? Is it serving our family? And the answer was no, not really. And I had to, we shut down our studio, because at that time we didn't know, like, can we gather? Can we not gather? I had 2 kids at home. Like, we were just really, what in the world is going on? And so I just said, I'm not ready to give this up, but I'm going to push pause. And in that time, I continued to coach other small business owners. I had a coaching arm of my business. So anything that I could do online, not within the physical product world, I continued to do. So built that up, and it was through that experience that I started working with clients who had either a really large audience someplace, like a really successful podcast, or published a book that did really well, or had a TEDx talk and grew a social media following, helping them to create courses that taught their methodologies to a wider audience online. And, at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was like, cool, Zoom, this is amazing. We can learn online. Now everyone's a little bit fatigued by it. But there was a big, like, let me brush up on some skills. So that led to me deciding to push pause on Compliment indefinitely until further notice, and really leaning into this educational consulting gig that was just kind of the next right step for me and my family. And so that is what we're doing now. And I have a business partner, and we'll talk about her and how that all goes, I suppose. And then, it's called Stand for the And Education Company.
I love it. And you were even saying that, like, today is a big day because, when you come up with a name, there's some red tape that you got to go through. Yes. And there was some, I guess you would say barriers in your way, but it looks like this is the first official day of the business. Explain that.
Yeah. So when my business partner and I joined forces, I was already operating under the heading Ampersand Education Company. And I thought of it out of thin air. You can see behind me, I have the ampersand symbol. And I've always been really just enamored by that little sign and how it joins things. And my life philosophy is yes and. Like, where can we yes and this thing? Like, there's a pandemic happening, yes, and that's a great opportunity for people to learn from home. So it's really just, I try to walk in that. And so we got the URL, we planted everything, and we've been operating that way for a year. But on Friday, like, this is just, today's Monday, so last Friday, we got a cease and desist from another Ampersand Education who has trademarked the name unbeknownst to us. And we did a search and we didn't see it. And so we very quickly responded because it was unintentional, but we also don't want to be sued. So we changed all of our branding to Stand for the And Education Company, because our philosophy is not just yes and, but we believe that you can be a present parent and a thriving entrepreneur, that you can make an incredible impact in your community and make an incredible income in the community. And that lots of things are not mutually exclusive either or. We take a stand for the and. How's that? Because I just practiced that.
I love it. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
That is good. I mean, and these are things that I know small business owners all over, like, we can understand. There's so many different parts that go into the business. I just want to go back to Shop Compliment for a second, because the work that you did there was pretty incredible. You're empowering of young women. I know part of the leg that you had was scholarships that you gave out. So it's more than just a jewelry line, because I think you need to explain that, because it was jewelry, but it had a purpose. Yeah,
totally. So when I was teaching high school English, I was also responsible for our school's AVID program. And for those, for listeners who aren't familiar with AVID, it's a public school program that serves students K through 12, and I was working with 9th through 12th graders to help them become college ready. And these are kids who don't traditionally come from a college going background. So I had and still do have a really strong passion for educational equity. I think education changes people, and there is a huge opportunity gap, as has been exposed, over the last 2 years, for kids who, want to pursue something that they don't see anyone in their neighborhoods necessarily pursuing. So that was my life's work for many years. And so when I started Compliment, it actually started as a fundraiser. I thought, what in the world could I sell? Because I have all these seniors who did everything right. They got all their test scores in, and high test scores. They took all the AP classes. They were passing things with flying colors, and yet at the end of the day, they were still financially short, even when their scholarship packages came in. So I was like, what could I sell? What could I sell? I don't really have any skills, but I was making this jewelry as just like an artistic creative outlet. And so I talked to a couple boutique owners around town, and they took a chance on the line. And I just like told everybody that I knew, hey, I'm doing this. Could you spread the word? And it grew. In that first year, I was still teaching, and we raised $1,000 for two $500 scholarships for my students. Like they all, like applied for it, and I had a blind panel of judges judge it. And over the years, we ended up helping send 13 girls in the greater Sacramento area to college who, it wasn't full tuition, but it was substantial enough. And it was just like, here's a big check, go learn some stuff. And it was like something I'm extremely, extremely proud and humbled that I was able to.
So I have to ask you, because you said you started that in 2011, started small, got big. There's got to be stories of girls now, young women, maybe older women now, who have come back and probably thanked you for that moment, because that's the beautiful thing is not only do you have a small business, but you have something that's making an impact. And usually it only takes one moment. And I have to imagine you've provided many of those kind of moments.
Yeah, through the scholarship for sure. And also, you probably have this too, even though you taught younger students, that you become such a pivotal person in a kid's life. As a teacher, that was never anything that I ever took for granted. I knew that my words could make or break what a kid believes about themselves. And so from the moment I started, and that was like kind of wise for a 23-year-old, like now looking back, I'm like, gosh, I guess I don't know how that, well, I do know actually. I had teachers say things that they probably don't even remember that really left a mark on me. And I was like, oh, I'm not good at blank, and didn't pursue things. So I wanted to do the opposite, right? So I have so many moments like that, particularly from the girls who we were able to scholarship. Several of them are teachers now themselves and have said thank you and want to pay it forward. One is a biochemist / model, like a runway model. I just have so many stories, and they're so great, and they keep in touch. A lot of them keep in touch with me on Instagram and say, here's what I'm up to. And it's just such a blessing to be able to see these young women grow up. I think our oldest scholarship winner is now, 28, because it was 10 years ago. 11 years. Yeah, 10 years ago in the summer. 11 in the summer. So, yeah, 28.
I love that. And see, and this is just a little slice of the pie that you're going to get from Melissa Camilleri. And we haven't even gotten really into the nuts and bolts of what she's doing today. She gave you a little piece of that. And that's why we're going to dive into that when we come back from the break. So we're going to take our first break, more conversation with a great small business owner, a true entrepreneur, and really getting to know what it is in that entrepreneur mind of Melissa Camilleri. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. All right, first segment in the books with Melissa Camilleri. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. Here's a promise to you. It only gets better. Segment 2 is going to be dynamite. Gonna love it. Okay, we got to talk to you about my sponsors, and we got 4 of them. They've been rock and rolling, 2 of them since day 1. The other 2 jumped on board probably about 7-8 months ago. So glad to have them.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode of Experience the Buzz by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. It means everything. Now, back to the show.
They've got a great indoor facility, and they operate all year long. I know summer is finishing, but nothing is stopping at Little Whale Swim School. You can find them on their website at littlewhaleswim.com. They're all over social media, or you can call them at 916-790-5945. Next up, got to give some love to R5 Stitch and Print. Troy Rousey, who is the proud owner of R5, is featured in episode number 25. You can go to their website at r5print.com. He's done a lot of work for me in screen printing and embroidery. They have a graphic design artist. They can sit down with you. They can do a mock-up for you. I don't know about you. I'm a visual person, and so they can give that to you so you can make some decisions on anything that you might want for your business. So R5 Stitch and Print, good job. Also, Pit Boss Jerky, Joe Green, episode 26. You hear his story. He's got 13 flavors of beef jerky that's out, and he's local. I'm going to give you a number. It's 916-769-8607. That is the number to call if you would like to get your hands on what I believe is some of the greatest beef jerky there is. I won't try any other stuff. I've made that promise to Joe Green, and we even have a flavor named after the program. Yes, it's called Experience the Buzz. The latest flavor to come out is White Bull's Barbecue, and then there's some other favorites, including Island Teriyaki, and one of my favorites outside of Experience the Buzz, Raspberry Apple Chipotle. And then finally, we want to thank Matt, the mortgage guy, Matt Gougé, who is featured in episode number 28. This guy is killing it on YouTube. He's got his own YouTube channel that he's been doing for years. He's got over 1 million viewers, over 500 episodes, and basically just giving education, on the housing, on being able to find loans. He's got all the answers, and he does some good stuff, including a live show every Monday at 6 o'clock. You can find that at mtng.com or dial him up at 916-802-9291. Don't waste any time. Matt and his team are ready to help you. All right, those are our sponsors of Experience the Buzz. Again, proud to have them on board. Let's get back to my conversation with Melissa Camilleri.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode of Experience the Buzz by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. It means everything. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back in. It is segment number 2. We are joined by Melissa Camilleri. Here she is, believer, educator, creative, strategist, helping thought leaders amplify their impact and income. And so we want to talk about the business that is taking place today that was built out of Shop Compliment. She became a mom. Things changed. You had the pandemic, and here she stands. So you have a business partner. And when I saw your business partner, which is Angela Gleason, my thought was, okay, maybe this is a friend. She decided to go into business, maybe kind of split things because she is a mother now and paying special attention to that. But I know this one's got a good story. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so and I don't recommend this, so here's my asterisk. I've never actually been in the same room with Angela Greaser, like my business partner. We've never hugged in person. She lives in Maine. I live in California, obviously, and she is one of my best friends. And that, I think, is testament to the power of online networking. It's like very incredible. And, if somebody would have told me even 2 years ago, you should probably think about going into business with somebody, I would have been like, you're crazy, never, too many headaches, can't do it. But Angela and I have a really, we're really proud of the fact, or really proud of the way that we work together, because where I lack, she's, super strong, and vice versa. So we really complement each other's skills, each other's temperaments, and we overlap on the things that really matter, which is our values, our priorities, and the vision that we have for this company and the good that we want to do in the world. So we actually met in a Facebook group like 6 years ago, which is so lame to say when I hear it coming out of my mouth. It's like online internet dating for moms who have businesses, I swear. So we met in a Facebook group, and somebody, I don't know if it was her or one of our other colleagues, had posted something like, would you want to start a mastermind where we meet once a week and we support each other on what's going on in our business? It was just peer-led, and I was really craving community. So I said, yes, I'll do it. And she was another person who said yes, and we opted in. And from the moment that we met, the 4 of us women, who we met once a week for, I think, 3 years, and still are in touch today, but we've all pivoted and kind of done different things, and we still support all of each other's launches. It's really a beautiful thing. But Angela and I knew that we were going to work together in some greater capacity, but didn't see how that could possibly work necessarily, although I did hire her business, now that I remember, back in 2017. When I had my first, she had a service where she basically babysat women's businesses to keep them going, to manage the team and make sure the emails were going out and the social media was being posted and all of that. And so she babysat my business for a maternity leave, which was such a blessing. Anyway, fast forward, we had been passing clients back and forth because her lane is all around operations and some of like the tech stuff. And my lane is really focused on curriculum, learning design, and, messaging and writing. And so people would hire me to do a job and I would say, okay, well, you have to hire Angela Greaser because you have no operations or systems down. Like, we're building you a whole online business based on your platform. So we actually decided to join forces because our clients were getting confused at the separate billing. I mean, we have to work together because what I'm creating behind a paywall in terms of the instructional design and what you would get from a learning experience for this thought leader really informs the marketing and the systems and the execution with what Angela does. So we were working so closely hand in hand for everything, but just billing out separately. So we thought, why don't we just do this, bring it all in house and have one umbrella business. And it's been a year. And every day we thank God, we are so grateful that we said yes to this, because both of us were a little skeptical, I think, at first. Like,
well, absolutely. I mean, when you look at this on paper, this is not supposed to happen. And I think that's the nugget of gold, is that you got two personalities who are literally on opposite sides of the country that are working together, and you have no shame in saying we haven't even met in person, but yet there was something that produced a great business. I mean, to me, that's like entrepreneurs, take some notes. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't advise it for everyone. You've got to be the right person to be able to do it, but it's so cool that you guys had that encounter and then were able to get to this spot.
Yeah, it is truly divinely ordained. I can't explain it any other way. I don't know if I would do this with very many other people. There have been times in my other business where I'm like, gosh, it would be so awesome just to have another person to bounce these ideas off of, right? Yeah. But like, who's going to put half of their, their livelihood at stake with another person? I mean, our attorneys, when they met with us, we were like working up all of our papers and stuff to officially create this partnership. They were like, okay, you haven't met yet? Like, are you going to shoot? We're like, yes, we are sure. Everything's 50-50. It's all like, we agree on all of the really big things and the things that we are like, that we excel in, like I said, complement one another. So it's unique. Wouldn't advise it to anybody else. We love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that's great that it's worked out for you. And maybe explain for people too, that word mastermind, that's come up. And I don't think a lot of people understand what that is. Can you explain?
Yeah. So the way that ours works, because there's all different models, but a mastermind is typically a smaller group of people who have some things in common and some things that are different. Usually for an entrepreneurial mastermind, it's pretty important to find other people who might want to share ideas or, build some sort of like brain trust to bounce things off of each other, who are around the same stage of business. So either that's like you're generating a certain amount of revenue in common, so you have a similar level playing field of experience. It might be that you're all, wedding DJs, for example, like you have a mastermind of wedding DJs. So like, how are you going to support one another with the things that come up that are specific to wedding DJs, right. Or for us in our mastermind, we spent part of our time talking about parenting, being moms who own businesses and who are trying to build a business baby and a human baby at the same time. That's a very unique thing. But all four of us have continued to have very different business. Well, Angela and I don't have a different business. We are in business together, but we all had different businesses. So we were not in competition with one another. We weren't going after the same clients, but we were there to say like, hey, I just found out this really great email platform. Check out what I'm able to do. Or I just learned of this awesome grant opportunity. You guys need to check it out and let's all go for it together. Or who do you know that could help me with my Facebook ads. And somebody was like, oh, I worked with so-and-so. So it's just like a small community of trusted friends, advisors, sounding boards. And I highly recommend it if you're a solopreneur, if you don't have a team. It is like stab to the soul, I swear. I mean, it was for me.
So my thought is, okay, that sounds like a great idea. You said you did through a Facebook group, but what would be that kind of that access to saying, okay, you know what, that sounds good. I'm sitting here going, that would be cool as a wedding DJ or an auctioneer to find others that I can bounce ideas off of. What would be that path?
Yeah. So talking to a few people who you know in the industry and just saying, is this something that you would want to commit to, where we like all commit to showing up at the same time, same place each week? And this is kind of, you set the ground rules or the expectations of, you're going to get out of it what you put in. So this is, what the format looks like each time that we meet, so that no one person is always dominating the conversation and taking more than they give. So, you can just ask around. I've had local masterminds before with other female entrepreneurs. There are also paid masterminds where you pay to join a community of like-minded people, or, that you have something in common with, and you're paying the coach or the mentor to kind of lead and have like some sort of trajectory in the mastermind. So that's another possibility that some people find very valuable. I mean, kind of what Angela and I are doing, we have like two arms of our business. One of them is to work one-on-one with a handful of clients who have the resources of time and finances to have our one-to-one service. But then the other arm is an incubator where we're together for an entire year, but it's kind of run like a mastermind, to be honest. It's capped at a certain number of people. There's a lot of intimacy in the group where each person knows each other's business and they're, sharing referrals. And that's a paid model. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But I would say, I'm sure you're networked with other.
Well, yes. And so I'm masterminding with you right this moment, right?
Exactly.
Just try to bounce off ideas. So it's interesting. And the name is escaping me. And I had to admit, I have not used the app, but there was the one app that came out about a year ago where it was the, like you could speak publicly. It was all audio, but no video.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, that's not it.
No.
No, not Community. That's a texting thing.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Yes. Yeah. Clubhouse, which I thought, at the beginning was pretty amazing, but I had to admit it's easy to, I guess, get obsessed with it and be locked in for a lot of time, because really, it was a great place to meet, but then it just got so big and so crazy and stuff that you really couldn't get that small knit community that you're kind of looking for, that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Clubhouse. That's the one. Yes.
Yeah. I was getting so many notifications that I had to take it off my phone completely, because I'm just like sitting here listening and not implementing anything. I'm not doing any of this stuff. And as we know, do the stuff if you want to make the bucks, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about the business. Stand for the And Education Company. It's official. Talk to me about your clients. Give me some examples of clients that have come to you guys and what you have done for them. Because as I'm reading through it, the next piece of our conversation is going to be Buzzard Ball. Because I feel like, because I've always wanted to take what I know and be able to share it with the world. And so I feel like this is the avenue, but I want to make sure, and it'll help me if you kind of tell me about some clients you've had.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the one-to-one client. So these are typically people who have had extraordinary success in their field of expertise. So we work, this is so strange how it's turned out, but we have a pretty small client roster of one-to-one, and like half of them are professors. So they're total experts. They're published in their field. Some of them are practitioners and they consult with other, with companies or with individuals. We have several authors who have published books and nonfiction books that are teaching something, or they are a platform in some way to communicate, their values. And as many nonfiction books have like a framework already baked in. We have a world champion bodybuilder from the 80s, a female bodybuilder who's on our client roster, and she wrote a book, and we're creating a program for her. And we've also worked on creating certification programs. So if somebody has a methodology that they want to teach to other practitioners to carry out their methodology, that's like the ultimate scaling of your intellectual property, basically. So that is what we do with some of our one-to-one clients. But then we had to take our own advice in our business and figure out a way that we could scale, because we believe in a couple of like core principles, which is multiple streams of income, always, always, always. And we also believe in time leverage. Like, we don't want to be working 24/7. And so the way that we help our clients scale is by creating these one-to-many programs. So how could we not also create a one-to-many program? So that's where the Impact Incubator comes in, where we're helping people who have built an audience, maybe have maxed out on their one-to-one clientele. Like, they're busy all of the time and they cannot create more hours in a day. And so they're looking for a way to scale to get some of their time back. We work with people who know that they have something on their heart to teach or to present to the world, some sort of like incredible experience. Like, it sounds like that's how you're feeling with Buzzard Bell, but like, don't really know where to start on how could you possibly create a curriculum that other people could replicate. So that's in our Impact Incubator. And we cap that at 100 people per cohort, because what we have found is that we spend a whole year with our incubator participants, and we walk them through the whole process of developing the course, launching the course, marketing it, building their audience, and then launching again, and then again. And our promise is you will make at least your investment back. If you do all this stuff and you stick with us for a year, and it's a whole year of mentorship, if you don't make your initial investment back and you've done all the work, you stay with us until you do.
I love that promise. That's like a great promise right there.
Right? Because it's like, do the work. If you do the work, you're going to make the money, right? And so we have one of our awesome success stories of the last month is a woman who is a doctor. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist and a psychologist. And she has a really thriving one-to-one practice. She's also a mom, and she also runs a nonprofit, and she has a sick mother that she's the primary caretaker for. And so she came to us and she's like, something has to give, and I need to get my time back. Like, I'm making fine money, but what can I do to get my time back? So we went through, we're going to launch you a group program. This is how it's going to work. And she got to work. And in her first launch, she made 20 grand. Just selling the same thing she was doing one-to-one. But she launched this 8-week program and made 20 grand. So is that completely life-changing money? It's not going to last her a lifetime. But man, she is on her way to making a legacy business. And she was thrilled. And of course, we were thrilled because it works.
So Melissa, we're onto something, because this is exactly what I'm thinking. So let me and you don't have to give too much, because ultimately I probably just need to hire you guys to make this happen. Because I feel like this is the connection, because I got to a spot, obviously pandemic, we talked about pause. So my big pause was, I wanted to do more weddings as a DJ. Mm-hmm. I was able to do that. Another piece was, I was retiring from teaching. So I did that 2 years ago, and I said, consulting. I want to teach people how to teach PE, how to run an intramural program, how to be an athletic director and run a small school program. And then it got to, I've always wanted to share my blueprint for running a youth basketball league or a youth basketball camp. And then I thought, man, I know I'm at a point now where I could share stuff about me as a DJ or an auctioneer. everything you're talking about. So that's 7 things. And I know I need to narrow it down, but am I in the ballpark of what you're talking about?
Yes. So this is actually so serendipitous because I don't think you know this unless you've been like really stalking. You would have to dig deep. So maybe you have, but we, in order to enroll people into our Impact Incubator, we actually hold a free 5-day workshop to let people get a taste of what this incubator will do. And we do like this high level, each day is just like a sliver of what the whole year looks like inside the incubator. So today was day 1 of this free 5-day workshop.
I did see that. Yes.
And so we talked about how do you find your clarity for what you're an expert in? And a lot of people are typing into Zoom and they're like, well, I could do this and this and this. And then we talked about how do we narrow it down to your unique value proposition, right? Which is something that we talk about in business all the time, but what makes you different? What makes your experience or the way you show up different than somebody else, or how you do things? So we had people identify that. And then we really like just keep on peeling the layers of the onion back. And this is exactly what we do with our one-to-one clients in our kickoff call. It's like, okay, but why? What do you want to teach and why that thing? And so we have you identify what kind of impact you want to make in the world and for your family. So impact, how you impact others, but also how it's going to impact your family life. So by increasing your revenue, getting more of your time back, that time leverage piece and scaling. And then what is your desire for income? And we make people write down a number because that way we can reverse engineer it and say, okay, well, you want to be making 100 grand from this course per year. What does that look like in terms of number of enrollments and what you're going to price this at? And do you have the audience to substantiate that? And if you don't, cool, we got to start working on building your audience or change the price or change the, offer in some way. So that's what we did today. And it sounds like that's exactly the place that you're in. It's just kind of peeling the layers of the onion back and saying, what is my quickest path to profitability? Where are my people? What do they want from me? What problem can I solve the quickest?
The voice you're hearing is Melissa Camilleri. If you're joining us on YouTube, you see her as well. She is a mother of 2, soon to be 3, happily married since 2015 to our good man, Nick. And we are talking business. Stand for the And Education Company. She, along with her partner from Maine, Angela, they are working this together. They have never met. That just blows me away. So my next piece on this is, what about the website and social media part? So like I have 3 websites, okay? And I had to do it because my things are so different. So when you were getting married and you went to, probably at that time it was buzzardball.org, you saw parties and you saw weddings and you saw basketball, and you're probably going, well, wait, this is not so romantic. What's the basketball thing? So I had to split it off. So that was another big thing in the pandemic. So I have an umbrella, which is buzzardball.com, which houses everything. Then I have buzzardballdj.com that takes care of that component. And then buzzardballhoops.net, which takes care of the basketball component. Now we're going to throw a course into this, right? Does that get fed through something like buzzardball.com, or do you, I guess, create something completely brand new?
I mean, the answer is, for everybody listening, it totally depends on what your setup is. But for you personally, what I would do, well, my question first is, at buzzardball.com, do you have a place where it could say, like work with me or whatever, and it has all the options and it links out? Okay. So it would be just under that work with me section, because it could be like work with me and then learn with me. And then you could have, your one signature offer and maybe a couple of like DIY courses or downloads or something like that.
Nice.
And I would probably house it under Buzzard Ball until you got clarity around, what audience you want to serve. And then if it makes sense to move it under, one website or the other, then you can move it.
Yeah. I think for me, Melissa, when I think about things, I think it's the youth basketball component, because for me, just seeing youth sports itself, I try to create a positive environment, but also have the blueprint in place to run an efficient league that is good, an efficient camp, and I have it. And I would just share it with anybody who would want to do it. And an individual or a team could definitely do it in any city, any country that I believe. But I think it could be, something special for, people to be able to use and not just keep holding on to. I've been doing it for 27 years. And it's like, I almost feel guilty, like, man, I need to share this with people. So I've never been able to, have the avenue.
That is exactly it. It's like you are doing a disservice to the world by not sharing the thing that you know how to do, because there are people out there who are searching for this, like literally going to Google and saying, how do I start a youth basketball league? Right. And so how dare we hide our light under the bushel,
Right.
like that's
right.
biblical. We can't do that. We have to shine and share what we know and what our gifts are. And so that, it could be replicated in every city. So you're essentially creating a certification program, sort of. It's like you can be certified in the buzzard ball methodologies or buzzard, youth hoops. Is that what it's called? Youthhoop.net?
Buzzard ball. Yeah. Buzzard ball youth basketball. We call it Sacramento's complete youth basketball experience.
I love it. And why can't that happen in every city across America, right? And globally, worldwide. So, let's do it.
You ready to partner together?
Challenge and learn with us and see if it's what you can apply. I really believe that all of us have some gift and talent, probably multiple gifts and talents that we need to share, that the world needs us to share. And the more people who are walking in their purpose and doing the things that light them up, the better the world is, because then we all shine. And there's enough to go around. The e-learning market this year is slated to be $243 billion globally. And I can't even wrap my head around that number. And man, how wonderful would it be to be able to provide for our families, to create these legacies where we're teaching many, many people without being bound by geography, without being bound by the 24 hours in this day. We can reach a ton of people. I think the internet is we're so lucky to be alive in this time and space, to reach a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely the positive side of the internet. And then you were using the social media because your social media that you guys do is phenomenal. I think it's it's top shelf. No, it's top shelf, good stuff. And, I'm just thinking having followed you with Shop Compliment, it's just great to see the progression that you've taken. So we're going to wrap up this segment, but I got one more with you if you got time.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just want to talk to you as an entrepreneur, being able to share your wisdom with others out there that are maybe thinking about starting a business, because that's what the show is all about being an entrepreneur. And I know you love it because it's better than a 9-to-5. There was something in you that took you out of the classroom where, you work September through June. And although you loved it because it was your passion, but you realized that you wanted to be able to have control of your schedule. And I just figured that out after I retired from where I taught. It took me a while, but obviously very happy as where I was at. So we will take another break and come back with more. Our guest, Melissa Camilleri. Well, I made a promise and she delivered, didn't she? Melissa was great in segment number 2. Segment number 3, we're just going to kind of wrap things up with some great questions just about being an entrepreneur and some of the stages that Melissa went through to be who she is today with her business. But I want to thank Matt the Mortgage Guy, Matt Gougé, featured in episode 28, Little Whale Swim School, Anya Hall, featured in episode 6, Pit Boss Jerky Joe Green, featured in episode 26, and R5 Stitch and Print, Troy Rousey, featured in episode 25. They, of course, are the proud owners of all those businesses that I told you about. If you would like to jump on board as a sponsor, it's very easy. You can go to buzzardball.com SteveBuzzard.com. Go to sponsorship. Inside, you'll see be a sponsor on the podcast, and then everything is customizable. So you can look at what we offer, and then of course you can contact me, say, hey, here's what I'm looking at, and we'll come up with something. Here's all I want to do with it. And what I've done with my sponsors, 2 of them have been with me since day one. So that's back in January of 2021. The latest ones are, Little Whale Swim School and Matt the Mortgage Guy. When they came on board, it's like, what do you want? And it's to serve you as a business, okay? And it doesn't have to look one way or the other. It's however you want it to look. So again, big thank you to my sponsors, Matt the Mortgage Guy, Little Whale Swim School, Pit Boss Jerky, and R5 Stitch and Print. Let's get to the final segment with our guest, Melissa Camilleri.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode of Experience the Buzz by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. It means everything. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. It is final segment time. It's been such a joy to visit with Melissa Camilleri. Oh, man, I tell you, just the fact that, yes, I was the DJ at her wedding, but just that's what I love about Sacramento and Northern California, and just being able, it's this small world effect. I mean, just meeting people where there's these 6 layers of separation where you're all connected. And I'm so grateful that here we are talking podcasting, because it has been a while since we've seen each other. We follow each other, obviously, through social media and stuff. But, I'm here to say I'm proud of you, Melissa. I mean, it is great to see what you've done, not only in your business venture, but the fact that, you got Nick and now 3 kids. I mean, it's just so amazing. And so I know you kind of probably pinch yourself at times and say, wow, what a life.
Literally every day. I do not take a second for granted. It didn't look like this a long time ago, and now it's just like I have such tremendous gratitude. We went through some hard stuff in my family and then came out, the other side, and this is a very blessed life. So thank you.
You're a very positive person. That translated on the dance floor at your wedding, because I do remember it like it was last night. But talk to me about, what was that seed for you, okay, of becoming an entrepreneur? We talked about the transition of you being in the classroom to saying, hey, and this is before you're married, right? So you had before actually having family. What was that seed for you that made you want to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I would love to say that like my whole life I thought about this, but I didn't. I thought I was going to be a teacher forever. And in 2012, the stuff hit the fan, as they say. And so I was teaching full time. But we lost 3 people in my family back to back to back in very sudden and pretty tragic ways. So there was like this huge element of grief, and to continue to go to my principal and say, hey, I was at a new school for that one semester, that it happened between August. So like the first day I was supposed to report back, through right after Thanksgiving. So it was a really short span of time, and to say to my principal, I have to take another 2 days off because we have to travel to another funeral, or I'm helping plan another funeral. And it was like my new school didn't know me. They didn't have a track record of my history and my dedication to the profession. And so my principal at the time was just like, so somebody else died? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like blown open. I also was going through a divorce. So there was so much loss, so much grief, that I actually took a leave of absence first from teaching to go like, whoa, I just need a breather for a second, because I had made a promise to myself at the beginning of my career that if ever I resented walking into my classroom door, that would have to be the day I quit, because kids pick that up immediately. And, we talked about this earlier. I think the greatest disservice that you can give to somebody is to cast doubt in their life. And I couldn't be that person. And I was so blown open that I was just like, I got to take a break. So I took a semester off, and it was during that semester, I was trying so hard to figure out what in the world can I do to lift this grief? And it wasn't even like, I'm going to start a business. I already had this little fundraiser thing, but it was a fundraiser for students. I did not think that I could learn to market it and make it into something substantial to like be my livelihood. But during that semester off, I did. And I took a course online for jewelry designers, and I was like, oh, this is how jewelry designers have a business. Okay. I started taking notes, and I'm like, okay, so if I want to make $60,000 a year, this is how many units I need to sell each day. And I just like my wheels started turning, and not having to answer to anybody. Oh, I got a taste of that. And I was like, I will never go back. There are things about teaching that I miss. I miss the relationship with the kids, because I was working, like teens have a special place in my heart, because it's like such a tender, pivotal age when they start making choices for themselves. And to help a kid like just kind of choose the right path is really like, it's just so special. I miss that. But man, I do not miss the system. I am not cut out for it. Like, I think the first month I had off, I slept like, oh my gosh, like probably 12 hours a day, like it's, in the night, because I was grieving too. So like that probably played into it, but I was exhausted after 10 years of grinding, And so if for those of you listening, if you've never been a teacher, it's a different kind of tired, man. It's like, there are 30, sometimes 36 kids who are there at 7 a.m. waiting for you, whether you're ready or not, you're on. And I don't know, it just felt good to have my own thing. And it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I was like, if this thing doesn't work out, I will figure out a way to make money.
Right.
And I have, knock on wood, like I just am scrappy, and I can figure out, like Marie Forleo, an online entrepreneurial like guru person. He has a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And I believe that, like, if I don't know, I'm going to ask somebody, or I'm going to Google it, or I'm just going to learn. I'm going to teach myself. I'm going to find somebody else who can do it better. And that's how I've built both of my businesses. It's just like scrappiness.
Scrappiness and just that mindset of that you self-taught yourself. Self-taught, there's nothing wrong with that, to sit down and say, okay, how would I sell jewelry? And then take it from there, and then, kind of mold it to where it's going to work for you. So with Shop Compliment, what are the things that you took from that experience into your new experience? Like, what were the huge positives that kind of bridged you into where you are now?
Yeah, I would say it actually has been the way I've operated through all iterations of my career, is relationship building. Like, that's always been a key component. That's how I sold my jewelry. That's how I marketed. I just met people. I went to conferences. I am actually a humongous introvert by nature, but I force myself. I'm interested in people, but I like a lot of quiet alone time. So I force myself to go to events, networking, getting out. There have been so many amazing makers markets here in Sacramento through the years, that like the Good Market that Unseen Heroes does. That was like my first foray into just like putting myself out there and greeting everybody who came by my table and meeting people. And then those connections lead to other connections. And so that has really carried over into this business, because I didn't start from scratch. I started from 10 years in of connections and contacts, and, having been on the news, and, becoming friends with the, anchors and stuff, all of that matters. And I think that people remember how you treat them. And so that's just how I operate in the world. And that has really served me well, from teaching through Compliment and now to Stand for the End education.
Yeah. And Melissa, I would agree. Customer service and just partnerships and relationships are number one, because they mean everything. They mean everything. I'm really starting to see that now, because right now, as I'm running my basketball camp and we're getting ready to end year 27, it's gotten to a point where all three of my kids were a part of the staff this year. That's the first time that's ever happened. And to watch them this week, I'm actually allowing them to run the camp. And so I am stepping back, and it is just amazing to watch them do, using a lot of the things that I would say, but then making it their own. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, okay, this is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Congratulations. That's like, that fills your heart. You're like, look at, because you built something right. And now your kids can take it over. And I mean, that's the most that many of us can hope for. That's really a beautiful legacy you've created.
Well, I know your next answer is going to be positive because a lot of your answers are positive, but then, getting married and having kids, how is that? Like, what are the major things you take from that within your business? Maybe the shifts that you had to make. I know you kind of hit on it a little bit, but maybe you can say more.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It is hard. It's really, really hard. And I think some of that comes from building my first business in such a way, like I said at the beginning, where it was really reliant on me and my juice and like my energy to push it forward. And then we had our boys so close together. They're 13 months apart. And so, being a mother who is the one who grew and delivered the babies, it takes a humongous physical toll, or it did on my body, because I had 2 C-sections back to back. So all of that recovery time baked in, and it like changes your brain, and becoming a mom was it was a hard transition, not because I didn't like absolutely love it and want it for my whole life, but to figure out how I was going to actually walk away from my business for a time to devote my energy where I really needed and wanted to with my children. So it's been a dance. I think actually the pandemic helped a lot because I wasn't able to leave the house for a while. It took that possibility off the table. And then my husband started working from home, and he works for the state in a job that he absolutely loves and is like, right, it is his life's purpose. And it just happens to be within the stability of the state system, which is really a huge blessing for our family. So because we got together when I was already an entrepreneur, that's kind of been my role, where he's like, I'll hold it down. I have the benefits, I have the steady income. Your job is to swing for the fences. And sometimes I would get up to the plate, and for like 2 years, I just struck out because I was tired. Like my body was still healing and rearranging to like, oh my gosh, now there are 2 little humans I am responsible for keeping alive and feeding and all these. And, in the last, I would say since the pandemic, I just felt like my brain started coming back. And moms who are listening, like that is a real thing. Like this pregnancy brain, I started really taking better care of myself, nourishing my body, taking care, it was like really intense self-care. And it was like my brain came back, and I was like, okay, what's next? Like all my creative energy went to building my family for a couple of years. And it is again, but like I'm at a much different place. I'm an experienced entrepreneur now with a business that I have built around family life instead of the other way around.
Do you feel stronger?
Oh my God. I feel like a different person. Actually, I feel like a warrior. Like I can freaking do anything. Now that I've kept 2 children alive to 5 and 4 years old.
Yes. Applause for that, for sure. So go ahead.
I have to say that Nick is such an awesome partner because he totally believes in what I'm doing, and I don't want to say like lets me, because like we're equal partners, but this support is definitely like gives me the energy, because I know that he's always in my corner and rooting for what we're building as a family. And he's such a hands-on dad. So I never have to worry. Like my kids are always with their parents, or other trusted family that we have around us. And so having a really present partner is everything. I couldn't do this if I didn't. So I have to give him credit where credit is due. He's amazing.
We're going to give Nick credit. Here we go, Nick. Credit for you. Applause from both of us. So lastly, Melissa, as we wrap up what has just been an incredible conversation, I'm going to end up being your client. I mean, this is all working great. What are the just meant to be. What are the pearls of wisdom that you'd like to drop on like beginning entrepreneurs, someone who's thinking about starting a business? You really have captured everything in accordance to what you have done, but now you get to deliver the wisdom to someone who maybe is just starting out.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things. I would say the first one is don't be afraid to start messy. Nobody starts at Beyonce level. If you go back and you watch old YouTube videos of Beyonce singing at like the county fairs, she wasn't what we see today. So start messy, just start putting yourself out there, talk to everyone, let your excitement and your enthusiasm be the thing that carries you into whatever that next step is, and just continue to be open to walking through doors, because what ends up happening on your journey is probably not in any way that you couldn't plan it, or it's not going to be things that you expect. It's all a series of saying yes to different opportunities or no to opportunities that might throw you off course. So just being really open, full of faith, full of purpose, and that excitement and passion actually is what gets people to pay attention. And so even if your product or your service isn't the most polished, like, don't tinker on your website anymore. Get out and talk to people. That's the most important thing. And again, let that enthusiasm and excitement pave the way.
I love it. I love it. That is absolutely perfect. And let's finish out by telling people how they can find you.
Yeah, it's really easy. It's standfortheand.com. And then
Spell out the word, right? Spell out the word.
Yeah, STANDFORTHEAND.com. And then I'm on social at melissa.camilleri, and you can find me there.
Yeah, and we'll put that all in the show notes and everything. And Melissa, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that, I think about where we've been and here we are. It's like, again, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad because, I've been trying to get to that episode 100. And so it's been kind of nice having this group that's inside of the 100. And the plan is then to revisit with everybody that's been on the show to see where they've been, like maybe a year or two down the line. And so I'm excited for our next visit, which will include hopefully a success story between me launching something with Buzzardball. I'm pumped. I am super pumped.
For you. Thank you so much for having me on. I am so grateful for you. Yeah. You are, I know this might, no, you probably hear this all the time, but to say it is like, you are such a significant part of our story, because music and the whole wedding event was just like, we wanted to create a certain ambiance, and you brought it, and you were such an important piece of that day and starting our life together. And now there's going to be another baby along the way. I have to say, I don't want to give you all of the credit, but you're partly responsible.
I'll take it. Well, Melissa, thank you. I can't wait for this episode to get out and for people to hear it, because like I said, you did such a great job encapsulating your story and your journey, and then being able to share pearls of wisdom. So thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right, there she is, Melissa Camilleri. We're going to drop to another quick break and come back with a special segment. Don't go anywhere. This is Experience the Buzz. All right, so there you have it. I said there was going to be a break. It's just a final word. I want to thank Melissa Camilleri once again. And yes, I'm hopping on board. I am going to make this thing that I've had in my brain and maybe have done a little Google search on. I'm going to make it a reality. And see, that's the beauty of the program, because if I didn't have the conversation with Melissa, now I can't move forward with this great idea I've had, and I'm ready to do it. So I'll be reporting to you on how that goes. And so if this is something that's down your alley, I would tell you, get in touch with Melissa Camilleri. We'll have all the information in the show notes. And again, I have to say, I'm very excited about our new segment that will debut in our next episode. Yes, Heavy Metal Thunder. Can't wait. Rock on. Have yourself a great day. That's all I got for now. We'll talk to you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for joining Steve this week on Experience the Buzz. Steve would love to hear from you. Leave a review or contact Steve directly with any questions at scbuzzard@gmail.com. To see the other adventures of Steve Buzzard, be sure to visit buzzardball.com.